The Pleasure Boat by Richard Henry Dana. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The Pleasure Boat. Come, hoist the sail, the fast let go. They're seated, side by side. Wave chases wave in pleasant flow. The bay is fair and wide. The ripples lightly tap the boat. Loose! Give her to the wind. She shoots ahead, they're all afloat. The strand is far behind. No danger reach so fair a crew. Thou goddess of the foam, I'll ever pay thee worship due, if thou wilt bring them home. Fair ladies, fairer than the spray the prow is dashing wide. Soft breezes take you on your way, soft flow the blessed tide. Oh, might I like those breezes be, and touch that arching brow, I'd dwell forever on the sea where ye are floating now. The boat goes tilting on the waves go tilting by. There dips the duck, her back she laves, o'erhead the seagulls fly. Now, like the gulls that dart for prey, the little vessel stoops, now, rising, shooting along her way, like them in easy swoops. The sunlight falling on her sheet, it glitters like the drift, sparkling, in scorn of summer's heat, high up some mountain rift. The winds are fresh, she's driving fast upon the bending tide. The crinkling sail and crinkling mast go with her side by side. Why dies the breeze away so soon? Why hangs the pennant down? The sea is glass, the sun at noon. Nay, lady, do not frown. For see, the winged fisher's plume is painted on the sea. Below, a cheek of lovely bloom. Whose eyes look up to thee? She smiles, thou needst must smile on her, and see beside her face a rich, white cloud that doth not stir. What beauty and what grace! And pictured beach of yellow sand, and peaked rock and hill, change the smooth sea to fairyland. How lovely and how still! From that far isle the thresher's flail strikes close upon the ear. The leaping fish, the swinging sail of yonder sloop sound near. The parting sun sends out a glow across the placid bay, touching with glory all the show. A breeze, up helm, away! Careening to the wind they reach with laugh and call the shore. They've left their footprints on the beach, but them I hear no more. Richard Henry Dana. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Solitary Woodsman by Charles G. D. Roberts. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. The Solitary Woodsman. When the grey lake water rushes past the dripping alder bushes, and the bodeful autumn wind in the fir tree weeps and hushes, when the air is sharply damp round the solitary camp, and the moose bush in the thicket glimmers like a scarlet lamp, when the birches twinkle yellow, and the cornel bunches mellow, and the owl across the twilight trumpets to his downy fellow, when the nut-fed chipmunks romp through the maple's crimson pomp, and the slim viburnum flashes in the darkness of the swamp, when the blueberries are dead, when the rowan clusters red, and the shy bear, summer sleekened, in the bracken makes his bed. On a day there comes once more to the latched and lonely door, down the wood road striding silent, one who has been here before. Green spruce branches for his head, here he makes his simple bed, crouching with the sun, and rising when the dawn is frosty red. All day long he wanders wide, with the grey moss for his guide, and his lonely axe stroke startles the expectant forest's side. Toward the quiet close of day, back to camp he takes his way, and about his sober footsteps, unafraid the squirrels play. On his roof the red leaf falls, at his door the blue jay calls, and he hears the wood mice hurry up and down his rough log walls. Hears the laughter of the loon thrill the dying afternoon, hears the calling of the moose echo to the early moon. And he hears the partridge drumming, the belated hornet humming, all the faint prophetic sounds that foretell the winter's coming. And the wind about his eaves through the chilly night-wet grieves, and the earth's dumb patience fills him, fellow to the falling leaves. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
September by George Arnold. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. September. Sweet is the voice that calls from the babbling waterfalls, in meadows where the downy seeds are flying, and soft the breezes blow, and eddying come and go in faded gardens where the rose is dying. Among the stubbled corn the blithe quail pipes at morn, the merry partridge drums in hidden places, and glittering insects gleam above the reedy stream, where busy spiders spin their filmy laces. At eve cool shadows fall across the garden wall, and on the clustered grapes to purple turning, and pearly vapour lie along the eastern sky, where the broad harvest moon is redly burning. Ah, soon on field and hill the wind shall whistle chill, and patriarch swallows call their flocks together to fly from frost and snow, and seek for lands where blow the fairer blossoms of a balmier weather. The cricket chirps all day, O fairest summer stay, the squirrel's eyes askance, the chestnut's browning, the wild fowl fly afar above the foamy bar, and hasten southward ere the skies are frowning. Now comes a fragrant breeze through the dark cedar trees, and around about my temples fondly lingers in gentle playfulness, like to the soft caress bestowed in happier days by loving fingers. Yet though a sense of grief comes with the falling leaf, and memory makes the summer doubly pleasant, in all my autumn dreams a future summer seems passing the fairest glories of the present. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Latter Rain by Jones Very, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The latter rain. The latter rain, it falls in anxious haste upon the sun-dried fields and branches bare, loosening with searching drops the rigid waste, as if it would each root's lost strength repair. But not a blade grows green as in the spring, no swelling twig puts forth its thickening leaves. The robins only mid the harvest sing, pecking the grain that scatters from the sheaves. The rain falls still, the fruit all ripened drops, it pierces chestnut burr and walnut shell, the furrowed fields disclose the yellow crops. Each bursting pod of talents used can tell, and all that once received the early rain declare to man it was not sent in vain. Jones Very. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Autumn by John Keats. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. To Autumn. season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd, and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding, more and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. And sometime like a gleaner thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press with patient look thou watchest the last oozings, hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Ay, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats sworn among the river sallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft the redbreast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Harvest Song by Ludwig H.C. Hölty. Translated from German by Charles Timothy Brooks. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Harvest Song. Sickles sound. On the ground fast the ripe ears fall. Every maiden's bonnet has blue blossoms on it. Joy is over all. Sickles ring, maidens sing to the sickle's sound, till the moon is beaming and the stubble gleaming, harvest songs go round. All are springing, all are singing, every lisping thing, man and master meet, from one dish they eat, each is now a king. Hans and Michael whet the sickle, piping merrily. Now they mow, each maiden soon with sheaves is laden, busy as a bee. Now the blisses and the kisses, now the wit doth flow till the beer is out, then with song and shout home they go, yo-ho. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Life in the Autumn Woods by Philip Pendleton Cook. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. Life in the Autumn Woods. Virginia. Summer has gone, and fruitful autumn has advanced so far that there is warmth, not heat, in the broad sun. And you may look with naked eye upon the ardours of his air, the stealthy frosts whom his spent looks embolden, or making the green leaves golden. What a brave splendour is in the October air! How rich and clear and bracing and all joyous! We must render love to the springtime, with its sproutings tender, to a child quite dear. But autumn is a thing of perfect glory, a manhood not yet hoary. I love the woods. In this good season of the liberal year, I love to seek their leafy solitudes, and give myself to melancholy moods, with no intruder near, and find strange lessons as I sit and ponder in every natural wonder. But not alone, as Shakespeare's melancholy courtier loved Ardennes, love I the browning forest, and I own I would not oft have mused as he, but flown to hunt with Amiens, and little thought, as up the bold deer bounded, of the sad creature wounded. A brave and good but wild-worn knight, soul wearied with his part in this vexed life, gave man for solitude, and built a ledge, and lived in Wantley Wood, to hear the belling heart. It was a gentle taste, but its sweet sadness yields to the hunter's madness. What passionate and keen delight is in the proud, swift chase! Go out what time the lark at heaven's red gates soars joyously singing, quite infuriate with the high pride of his place. What time the unrisen sun arrays the morning in its first bright adorning. Hark, the quick horn, as sweet to hear as any clarion, piercing with silver call the air of morn. And mark the steeds, stout Castle and Topthorn, and grey Steel and the Don, each one of them his fiery mood displaying with pawing and with neighing. Urge your swift horse after the crying hounds in this fresh hour, vanquish high hills, stem perilous streams perforce. On the free plain give free wings to your horse, and you will know the power of the brave chase, and how of griefs the sorest a cure is in the forest. Or stalk the deer, the same red lip of dawn has kissed the hills. The gladdest sounds are crowding on your ear, there is a life in all the atmosphere. Your very nature fills with a fresh hour, as up the hills aspiring you climb with limbs untiring. It is a fair and goodly sight to see the antlered stag with a long sweep of his swift walk repair to join his brothers, or the plethoric bear lying in some high crag with pinky eyes half closed, but broad head shaking, as gadflies keep him waking. And these you see, and seeing them, you travel to their death with a slow, stealthy step from tree to tree, noting the wind however faint it be. The hunter draws a breath in times like these, which he will say repays him for all care that waylays him. A strong joy fills, a joy beyond the tongue's expressive power. My heart in autumn weather fills and thrills, and I would rather stalk the breezy hills descending to my bower, nightly, by the sweet spirit of peace attended, than pine where life is splendid. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hunting Song by Sir Walter Scott. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Hunting Song. Waken, lords and ladies gay, on the mountain dawns the day, all the jolly chase is here, with hawks and horse and hunting spear. Hounds are in their couples yelling, hawks are whistling, horns are knelling, merrily, merrily mingle they. Waken, lords and ladies gay. Waken, lords and ladies gay, the mist has left the mountain grey, springlets in the dawn are steaming, diamonds on the brake are gleaming, and foresters have busy been to track the buck in thickest green. Now we come to chant our lay, waken, lords and ladies gay. Waken, lords and ladies gay, to the greenwood haste away, we can show you where he lies, fleet of foot and tall of size. We can show the marks he made, when 'gainst the oak his antlers frayed, you shall see him brought to bay. Waken, lords and ladies gay. Louder, louder chant the lay, waken, lords and ladies gay, tell them youth and mirth and glee. run a course as well as we. Time, stern huntsman, who can balk, stanch as hound and fleet as hawk? Think of this, and rise with day, gentle lords and ladies gay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Hunter's Song by Brian Waller Proctor, Barry Cornwall. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. The Hunter's Song. Rise, sleep no more. 'Tis a noble morn. The dews hang thick on the fringed thorn, and the frost shrinks back like a beaten hound under the steaming ground. Behold, where the billowy clouds flow by, and leave us alone in the clear grey sky. Our horses are ready and steady. So ho! I'm gone, like a dart from the Tartar's bow. Hark, hark! Who calleth the maiden morn from asleep in the woods and the stubble corn? The horn, the merry sweet ring of the hunter's horn. Now, through the copse where the fox is found, and over the stream at a mighty bound, and over the highlands and over the low, o'er furrows, over meadows, the hunters go. Away! As a hawk flies full at his prey, so flieth the hunter away, away. And the burst at the cover till set of sun, when the red fox dies, and the day is done. Hark, hark! What sound on the wind is borne? 'Tis a conquering voice of the hunter's horn. The horn, the merry bold voice of the hunter's horn. Sound, sound the horn, to the hunter good. What's the gully deep, or the roaring flood? Right over he bounds, as the wild stag bounds, at the heels of his swift, sure, silent hounds. Oh, what delight can a mortal lack, when he once is firm on his horse's back, with his stirrups short and his snaffle strong, and the blast of the horn for his morning song? Hark, hark! Now home, and dream till morn of the bold, sweet sound of the hunter's horn. The horn, oh, the sound of all sounds is the hunter's horn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Hunted Squirrel by William Browne. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Hunted Squirrel. From Britannia's Pastorals, Book 1, Song 5. Then, as a nimble squirrel from the wood, ranging the hedges for his filbert food, sits pertly on a bough, his brown nuts cracking, and from the shell the sweet white kernel taking, till with their crooks and bags a sort of boys, to share with him, come with so great a noise, that he is forced to leave a nut nigh broke, and for his life leap to a neighbour oak. Thence to a beech, thence to a row of ashes, whilst through the quagmires and red water plashes the boys run dabbling thorough thick and thin. One tears his hose, another breaks his shin. This, torn and tattered, hath with much ado got by the briars, and that hath lost his shoe. This drops his band, that headlong falls for haste, another cries behind for being last. With sticks and stones and many a sounding hollow, the little fool with no small sport they follow, whilst he, from tree to tree, from spray to spray, gets to the wood and hides him in his dray. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Hunting We Will Go by Henry Fielding. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin as the narrator,
and Leanne Yau as the wife.
A-hunting we will go. A dusky night rides down the sky, and ushers in the morn. The hounds all join in glorious cry, the huntsman winds his horn, and a-hunting we will go. The wife around her husband throws her arms to make him stay.
My dear, it rains, it hails, it blows. You cannot hunt today.
Yet a-hunting we will go. Away they fly to scape the rout, their steeds they soundly switch. Some are thrown in and some thrown out, and some thrown in the ditch. Yet a-hunting we will go. Sly Reynard now like lightning flies, and sweeps across the vale. And when the hounds too near he spies, he drops his bushy tail. Then a-hunting we will go. Fond Echo seems to like the sport, and join the jovial cry. The woods, the hills, the sound retort, the music fills the sky. When a-hunting we do go. At last, his strength to faintness worn, poor Reynard ceases flight. Then hungry, homeward we return to feast away the night, and a-drinking we do go. Ye jovial hunters, in the morn, prepare then for the chase. Rise at the sounding of the horn, and health with sport embrace. When a-hunting we do go. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Stag Hunt by Sir Walter Scott. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter as the narrator,
Craig Franklin as the warder,
and Jason in Panama as the horseman.
The Stag Hunt from The Lady of the Lake, Canto 1. The stag at eve had drunk his fill, where danced the moon on Monan's rill, and deep his midnight lair had made in lone Glenotney's hazel shade. But when the sun his beacon red had kindled on Benvoirlic's head, the deep-mouthed bloodhound's heavy bay resounded up the rocky way, and faint, from farther distance borne, were heard the clanging hoof and horn, as chief who hears his warder call,
"To arms! The foemen storm the wall!"
The antlered monarch of the waste sprung from his heathery couch in haste. But, ere his fleet career he took, the dewdrops from his flanks he shook, like crested leader proud and high, tossed his beamed frontlet to the sky. A moment gazed adown the dale, a moment snuffed the tainted gale, a moment listened to the cry that thickened as the chase drew nigh. Then, as the headmost foes appeared, with one brave bound the copse he cleared, and, stretching forward free and far, sought the wild heaths of Uamvar. Yelled on the view the opening pack, rock, glen, and cavern paid them back. To many a mingled sound at once the awakened mountain gave response. 100 dogs bayed deep and strong, clattered 100 steeds along. Their peal the merry horns rung out, 100 voices joined the shout, with hark and whoop and wild halloo, no rest Benvoirlic's echoes knew. Far from the tumult fled the roe, close in her covert cowered the doe. The falcon, from her cairn on high, cast on the rout a wondering eye, till far beyond her piercing ken, the hurricane had swept the glen. Faint and more faint, its failing din returned from cavern, cliff, and linn, and silence settled, wide and still, on the lone wood and mighty hill. 'Twere long to tell what steeds gave o'er, as swept the hunt through Cambus moor, what reins were tightened in despair, when rose Benledi's ridge in air, who flagged upon Bocastle's heath, who shunned to stem the flooded teeth. For twice that day, from shore to shore, the gallant stag swam stoutly o'er. Few were the stragglers, following far, that reached the lake of Venacar. And when the brig of Turk was won, the headmost horseman rode alone. Alone, but with unbated zeal, that horseman plied the scourge and steel. For, jaded now, and spent with toil, embossed with foam, and dark with soil, while every gasp with sobs he drew, the labouring stag strained full in view. 2 dogs of black St. Hubert's breed, unmatched for courage, breath, and speed, fast on his flying traces came, and all but won that desperate game. For, scarce a spear's length from his haunch, vindictive toiled the bloodhounds staunch, nor near might the dogs attain, nor farther might the quarry strain. Thus up the margin of the lake, between the precipice and brake, o'er stock and rock their race they take. The hunter marked that mountain high, the lone lake's western boundary, and deemed the stag must turn to bay, where that huge rampart barred the way. Already glorying in the prize, measured his antlers with his eyes, for the death wound and death halloo mustered his breath, his whinyard drew. But thundering as he came prepared, with ready arm and weapon bared, the wily quarry shunned the shock, and turned him from the opposing rock. Then, dashing down a darksome glen, soon lost to hound and hunter's ken, in the deep Trozak's wildest nook his solitary refuge took. There while, close couched, the thicket shed cold dews and wildflowers on his head, he heard the baffled dogs in vain rave through the hollow pass amain, chiding the rocks that yelled again. Close on the hounds the hunter came, to cheer them on the vanished game, but, stumbling in the rugged dell, the gallant horse exhausted fell. The impatient rider strove in vain to rouse him with the spur and rein, for the good steed, his labours o'er, stretched his stiff limbs to rise no more. Then, touched with pity and remorse, he sorrowed o'er the expiring horse.
I little thought, when first thy rein I slacked upon the banks of Seine, that Highland eagle e'er should feed on thy fleet limbs, my matchless steed. Woe worth the chase, woe worth the day that costs thy life, my gallant grey.
Then through the dell his horn resounds, from vain pursuit to call the hounds. Back-limbed, with slow and crippled pace, the sulky leaders of the chase, close to the master's side they pressed, with drooping tail and humbled crest, but still the dingle's hollow throat prolonged the swelling bugle note. The owlets started from their dream, the eagles answered with their scream. Round and around the sounds were cast, till echo seemed an answering blast. And on the hunter hied his way, to join some comrades of the day, yet often paused, so strange the road, so wondrous were the scenes it showed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Stag Hunt, from the Seasons, Autumn, by James Thomson, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The Stag Hunt, from the Seasons, Autumn. The stag, too, singled from the herd where long he ranged, the branching monarch of the shades, before the tempest drives. At first, in speed, he sprightly puts his faith, and, roused by fear, gives all his swift aerial soul to flight. Against the breeze he darts, that way the more to leave the lessening murderous cry behind, deception short, though fleeter than the winds blown o'er the keen-aired mountain by the north, he bursts the thickets, glances through the glades, and plunges deep into the wildest wood. If slow, yet sure, adhesive to the track, hot steaming, up behind him come again the inhuman rout, and from the shady depth expel him, circling through his every shift. He sweeps the forest off, and sobbing sees the glades, mild opening to the golden day, where, in kind contest, with his budding friends he wont to struggle, or his loves enjoy. Oft in the full descending flood he tries to lose the scent, and lave his burning sides, oft seeks the herd. The watchful herd, alarmed with selfish care, avoid a brother's woe. What shall he do? His once so vivid nerves, so full of buoyant spirit, now no more inspire the course, but fainting breathless toil, sick, seizes on his heart. He stands at bay, and puts his last weak refuge in despair. The big round tears run down his dappled face. He groans in anguish, while the growling pack, blood happy, hang at his fair jutting chest, and mark his beauteous checkered sides with gore. James Thomson. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Squire by Wilfred Scorn Blunt. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Old Squire. I like the hunting of the hare better than that of the fox. I like the joyous morning air and the crowing of the cocks. I like the calm of the early fields, the ducks asleep by the lake, the quiet hour which nature yields before mankind is awake. I like the pheasants and feeding things of the unsuspicious morn. I like the flap of the wood pigeon's wings as she rises from the corn. I like the blackbird's shriek and his rush from the turnips as I pass by, and the partridge hiding her head in a bush, for her young ones cannot fly. I like these things, and I like to ride when all the world is in bed, to the top of the hill where the sky grows wide and where the sun grows red. The beagles at my horse heels trot in silence after me. There's Ruby, Roger, Diamond, Dot, Old Slut and Marjorie. A score of names well used and dear, the names my childhood knew. The horn with which I rouse their cheer is the horn my father blew. I like the hunting of the hare better than that of the fox. The new world still is all less fair than the old world it mocks. I covet not a wider range than these dear manners give. I take my pleasures without change, and as I lived I live. I leave my neighbours to their thought, my choice it is and pride, on my own hands to find my sport, in my own fields to ride. The hare herself no better loves the field where she was bred, than I the habit of these groves, my own inherited. I know my quarries, every one. The mews where she sits low, the road she chose today was run 100 years ago. The lags, the gills, the forest ways, the hedgerows one and all, these are the kingdoms of my chase, and bounded by my wall. Nor has the world a better thing, though one should search it round, than thus to live one's own sole king upon one's own sole ground. I like the hunting of the hare. It brings me day by day the memory of old days as fair, with dead men passed away. To these as homeward still I ply, and pass the churchyard gate, where all are laid as I must lie, I stop and raise my hat. I like the hunting of the hare. New sports I hold in scorn. I like to be as my fathers were in the days ere I was born. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Indian Summer by John Bannister Tabb. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Indian Summer. No more the battle or the chase the phantom tribes pursue, but each in its accustomed place the autumn hails anew. And still from solemn councils set on every hill and plain, the smoke of many a calumet ascends to heaven again. John Bannister Tabb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
No, by Thomas Hood. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. No. No sun, no moon, no morn, no noon, no dawn, no dusk, no proper time of day, no sky, no earthly view, no distance looking blue, no road, no street, no t'other side the way, no end to any row, no indications where the crescents go, no top to any steeple, no recognitions of familiar people, no courtesies for showing 'em, no knowing 'em, no travelling at all, no locomotion, no inkling of the way, no notion, no go, by land or ocean, no mail, no post, no news from any foreign coast, no park, no ring, no afternoon gentility, no company, no nobility, no warmth, no cheerfulness, no healthful ease, no comfortable feel in any member, no shade, no shine, no butterflies, no bees, no fruits, no flowers, no leaves, no birds, November. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When the Frost is on the Pumpkin by James Whitcomb Riley. From the World's Best Poetry Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. When the Frost is on the Pumpkin. When the frost is on the pumpkin, and the fodder's in the shock, and you hear the kyuk and gobble of the strutting turkey cock, and the clacking of the guineas, and the clucking of the hens, and the rooster's hallelujah as he tiptoes on the fence. Oh, it's then's the times a feller is a feeling at his best, with the rising sun to greet him from a night of peaceful rest, as he leaves the house bareheaded and goes out to feed the stock, and the frost is on the pumpkin, and the fodder's in the shock. There's something kinda hearty-like about the atmosphere when the heat of summer is over and the cooling fall is here. Of course we miss the flowers and the blossoms on the trees, and the mumble of the hummingbirds and buzzing of the bees, but the air is so appetizing, and the landscape through the haze of a crisp and sunny morning of the early autumn days is a picture that no painter has colouring to mock, when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. The husky, rusty rustle of the tassels of the corn, and the rasping of the tangled leaves, as golden as the morn, the stubble and the furries, kinda lonesome-like, but still, are preaching sermons to us of the bonds that grow to fill. The straw stack in the meadow, and the reaper in the shed, the horses in the stalls below, the clover overhead. Oh, it sets my heart a-clicking like the ticking of a clock, when the frost is on the pumpkin, and the fodder's in the shock. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Autumn, a Dirge, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. Autumn, a Dirge. The warm sun is failing, the bleak wind is wailing, the bare boughs are sighing, the pale flowers are dying, and the year on the earth her deathbed, in a shroud of leaves dead, is lying. Come, months, come away, from November to May, in your saddest array. Follow the bier of the dead cold year, and like dim shadows watch by her sepulchre. The chill rain is falling, the nipped worm is crawling, the rivers are swelling, the thunder is knelling for the year. The blithe swallows are flown, and the lizards each gone to his dwelling. Come, months, come away, put on white, black, and grey, let your light sisters play. Ye, follow the bier of the dead cold year, and make her grave green with tear on tear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When Icicles Hang by the Wall, from Love's Labour's Lost, Act 5, Scene 2 by William Shakespeare, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. When Icicles Hang by the Wall, from Love's Labour's Lost, Act 5, Scene 2. When icicles hang by the wall, and Dick the shepherd blows his nail, and Tom bears logs into the hall, and milk comes frozen home in pail, when blood is nipped, and ways be foul, then nightly sings the staring owl, to who, to whit, to who, a merry note, while greasy Joan doth keel the pot. When all aloud the wind doth blow, and coughing drowns the parson's saw, and birds sit brooding in the snow, and Marian's nose looks red and raw, when roasted crabs hiss in the bowl, then nightly sings the staring owl, to who, to whit, to who, a merry note, while greasy Joan doth keel the pot. Shakespeare. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter by Matthias Claudius, translated from the German by Charles Timothy Brooks. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin as the narrator,
and Jason in Panama as Old Winter.
Winter, a song to be sung behind the stove.
Old Winter is the man for me, stout-hearted, sound and steady. Steel nerves and bones of brass hath he. Come snow, come blow, he's ready. If ever man was well, 'tis he. He keeps no fire in his chamber, and yet from cold and cough is free in bitterest December. He dresses him outdoors at morn, nor needs he first to warm him. Toothache and rheumatis he'll scorn, and colic don't alarm him. In summer, when the woodland rings, he asks,
What mean these noises?
Warm sounds he hates, and all warm things most heartily despises. But when the fox's bark is loud, when the bright hearth is snapping, when children round the chimney crowd, all shivering and clapping, when stone and bone with frost do break, and pond and lake are cracking, then you may see his old sides shake, such glee his frame is racking. Near the North Pole upon the strand he has an icy tower. Likewise in lovely Switzerland he keeps a summer bower. So up and down, now here, now there, his regiments manoeuvre. When he goes by we stand and stare, and cannot choose but shiver.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Frost by Edith Matilda Thomas. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Frost. How small a tooth hath mined the season's heart, how cold a touch hath set the wood on fire, until it blazes like a costly pyre built for some Ganges emperor, old and swart, soul sped on clouds of incense. Whose the art that webs the streams, each morn with silver wire, delicate as the tension of a lyre? Whose falchion prides the chestnut bur apart? It is the frost, a rude and Gothic sprite, who doth unbuild the summer's palaced wealth, and puts her dear loves all to sword or flight. Yet in the hushed, unmindful winter's night the spoiler builds again with jealous stealth, and sets a mimic garden, cold and bright. Edith Matilda Thomas. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Snowflakes by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Snowflakes. Out of the bosom of the air, out of the cloud folds of her garments shaken, over the woodlands brown and bare, over the harvest fields forsaken, silent and soft and slow, descends the snow. Even as our cloudy fancies take suddenly shape in some divine expression, even as the troubled heart doth make in the white countenance confession, the troubled sky reveals the grief it feels. This is the poem of the air, slowly in silent syllables recorded. This is the secret of despair, long in its cloudy bosom hoarded, now whispered and revealed to wood and field. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
December by Joel Benton. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. December. When the feud of hot and cold leaves the autumn woodlands bare, when the year is getting old and flowers are dead and keen the air, when the crow has new concern and early sounds his raucous note, and where the late witch hazels burn, the squirrel from a chuckling throat tells that one larder's space is filled, and tilts upon a towering tree, and valiant, quick, and keenly thrilled upstarts the tiny chickadee. When the sun still shortening arc, too soon night shadows dun and grey brings on, and fields are drear and dark, and summer birds have flown away. I feel the year's slow beating heart, the sky's chill prophecy I know, and welcome the consummate art which weaves this spotless shroud of snow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Snowflakes by Mary Mapes Dodge. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia as the narrator
and Leanne Yau as the snowflake.
Snowflakes. Whenever a snowflake leaves the sky, it turns and turns to say,
Goodbye! Goodbye, dear clouds, so cool and grey.
Then lightly travels on its way. And when a snowflake finds a tree,
Good day,
it says,
good day to thee. Thou art so bare, and lonely, dear, I'll rest and call my comrades here.
But when a snowflake, brave and meek, lights on a rosy maiden's cheek, it starts,
How warm and soft the day! 'Tis summer!
and it melts away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Snowstorm by Ralph Waldo Emerson. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. The Snowstorm. Announced by all the trumpets of the sky, arrives the snow, and, driving o'er the fields, seems nowhere to alight. The whited air hides hills and woods, the river and the heaven, and veils the farmhouse at the garden's end. The sled and traveller stopped, the courier's feet delayed, all friends shut out, the housemates sit around the radiant fireplace, enclosed in a tumultuous privacy of storm. Come see the north wind's masonry. Out of an unseen quarry, evermore furnished with tile, the fierce artificer curves his white bastions with projected roof round every windward stake or tree or door, speeding, the myriad-handed, his wild work so fanciful, so savage, naught cares he for number or proportion. Mockingly, on coop or kennel he hangs Parian wreaths. A swan-like form invests the hidden thorn, fills up the farmer's lane from wall to wall. Maugre the farmer's sighs, and at the gate a tapering turret overtops the work. And when his hours are numbered, and the world is all his own, retiring as he were not, leaves, when the sun appears, astonished art to mimic in slow structures, stone by stone, built in an age, the mad wind's night work, the frolic architecture of the snow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Snowstorm by Ethelwyn Wetherald. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Snowstorm. The great soft downy snowstorm, like a cloak, descends to wrap the lean world head to feet. It gives the dead another winding sheet. It buries all the roofs until the smoke seems like a soul that from its clay has broke. It broods moon-like upon the autumn wheat, and visits all the trees in their retreat, to hood and mantle that poor shivering folk. With wintry bloom it fills the harshest grooves. In jagged pine stump fences every sound it hushes to the footsteps of a nun. Sweet charity that brightens where it moves, inducing darkest bits of churlish ground to give a radiant answer to the sun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Snow Shower by William Cullen Bryant. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. The Snow Shower. Stand here by my side and turn, I pray, on the lake below thy gentle eyes. The clouds hang over it, heavy and grey, and dark and silent the water lies. And out of that frozen mist the snow in wavering flakes begins to flow. Flake after flake, they sink in the dark and silent lake. See how in a living swarm they come from the chambers beyond that misty veil. Some hover a while in air, and some rush prone from the sky like summer hail. Or, dropping swiftly or settling slow, meet and are still in the depths below, flake after flake, dissolved in the dark and silent lake. Here, delicate snow stars out of the cloud come floating downward in airy play, like spangles dropped from the glistening crowd that whiten by night the Milky Way. There broader and burlier masses fall, the sullen water buries them all, flake after flake, all drowned in the dark and silent lake. And some, as on tender wings they glide from their chilly birth cloud dim and grey, are joined in their fall and side by side come clinging along their unsteady way, as friend with friend or husband with wife makes hand in hand the passage of life. Each mated flake soon sinks in the dark and silent lake. Lo, while we are gazing in swifter haste, stream down the snows till the air is white, as myriads by myriads madly chased they fling themselves from their shadowy height. The fair, frail creatures amid all sky, what speed they make with their graves so nigh, flake after flake, to lie in the dark and silent lake. I see in thy gentle eyes a tear, they turn to me in sorrowful thought. Thou thinkest of friends the good and dear, who were for a time, and now are not, like these fair children of cloud and frost, that glisten a moment and then are lost, flake after flake, all lost in the dark and silent lake. Yet look again, for the clouds divide, a gleam of blue on the water lies, and far away on the mountain side a sunbeam falls from the opening skies. But the hurrying host that flew between the cloud and the water no more is seen, flake after flake, at rest in the dark and silent lake. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Snowing of the Pines by Thomas Wentworth Higginson, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. The Snowing of the Pines. Softer than silence, stiller than still air, float down from high pine boughs the slender leaves. The forest floor its annual boon receives, that comes like snowfall, tireless, tranquil, fair. Gently they glide, gently they clothe the bare old rocks with grace. Their fall a mantle weaves of paler yellow than autumnal sheaves, or those strange blossoms the witch hazels wear. Athwart long aisles the sunbeams pierce their way. High up, the crows are gathering for the night, the delicate needles fill the air, the jay takes through their golden mist his radiant flight. They fall and fall, till at November's close, the snowflakes drop as lightly, snows on snows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Snowstorm by Charles Gamage Eastman, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. A snowstorm, seen in a Vermont winter. 'Tis a fearful night in the winter time, as cold as it ever can be. The roar of the blast is heard like the chimes of the waves on an angry sea. The moon is full, but her silver light the storm dashes out with its wings tonight, and over the sky from south to north not a star is seen as the wind comes forth in the strength of a mighty glee. All day had the snow come down, all day as it never came down before, and over the hills at sunset lay some 2 or 3 feet or more. The fence was lost and the wall of stone, the windows blocked and the well curbs gone. The haystack had grown to a mountain lift, and the woodpile looked like a monster drift, as it lay by the farmer's door. The night sets in on a world of snow, while the air grows sharp and chill, and the warning roar of a fearful blow is heard on the distant hill. And the norther, see, on the mountain peak, in his breath, how the old trees writhe and shriek. He shouts on the plain, ho ho, ho ho. He drives from his nostrils the blinding snow, and growls with a savage will. Such a night as this, to be found abroad, in the drifts and the freezing air, sits a shivering dog in the field by the road, with the snow in his shaggy hair. He shuts his eyes to the wind and growls, he lifts his head and moans and howls, then crouching low from the cutting sleet, his nose is pressed on his quivering feet. Pray, what does the dog do there? A farmer came from the village plain, but he lost the travelled way, and for hours he trod with might and main a path for his horse and sleigh. But colder still the cold winds blew, and deeper still the deep drifts grew, and his mare, a beautiful Morgan brown, at last in her struggles floundered down, where a log in a hollow lay. In vain with a neigh and a frenzied snort she plunged in the drifting snow, while her master urged till his breath grew short, with a word and a gentle blow. But the snow was deep, and the tugs were tight, his hands were numb and had lost their might. So he wallowed back to his half-filled sleigh, and strove to shelter himself till day, with his coat and the buffalo. He has given the last faint jerk of the rein to rouse up his dying steed, and the poor dog howls to the blast in vain for help in his master's need. For a while he strives, with a wistful cry, to catch a glance from his drowsy eye, and wags his tail if the rude winds flap the skirt of the buffalo over his lap, and whines when he takes no heed. The wind goes down, and the storm is over, 'tis the hour of midnight past. The old trees writhe and bend no more in the whirl of the rushing blast. The silent moon with her peaceful light looks down on the hills with snow all white, and the giant shadow of Camel's Hump, the blasted pine and the ghostly stump, afar on the plain are cast. But cold and dead by the hidden log are they who came from the town, the man in his sleigh and his faithful dog, and his beautiful Morgan brown. In the wide snow desert, far and grand, with his cap on his head and the reins in his hand, the dog with his nose on his master's feet, and the mare half seen from the crusted sleet, where she lay when she floundered down. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter by John Howard Bryant. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Winter. The day had been a calm and sunny day, and tinged with amber was the sky at even. The fleecy clouds at length had rolled away, and lay in furrows on the eastern heaven. The moon arose and shed a glimmering ray, and round her orb a misty circle lay. The hoarse frost glittered on the naked heath, the roar of distant winds was loud and deep. The dry leaves rustled in each passing breath, and the gay world was lost in quiet sleep. Such was the time when on the landscape brown, through a December air the snow came down. The morning came, the dreary morn at last, and showed the whitening waste, the shivering herd, lowed on the hoary meadow ground, and fast fell the light flakes upon the earth unstirred. The forest firs, with glittering snows o'erlaid, stood like hoar priests in robes of white arrayed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter Scenes from The Seasons, Winter by James Thomson. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. Winter Scenes. The keener tempests rise, and fuming dun from all the livid east or piercing north, thick clouds ascend, in whose capacious womb a vapoury deluge lies, to snow congealed. Heavy they roll their fleecy world along, and the sky saddens with the gathered storm. Through the hushed air the whitening shower descends, at first thin wavering, till at last the flakes fall broad and wide and fast, dimming the day with a continual flow. The cherished fields put on their winter robe of purest white. 'Tis brightness all, save where the new snow melts along the mazy current. Lo, the woods bow their hoar head, and ere the languid sun faint from the west emits his evening ray, earth's universal face, deep hid and chill, is one wide dazzling waste that buries wide the works of man. Drooping, the labourer ox stands covered o'er with snow, and then demands the fruit of all his toil. The fowls of heaven, tamed by the cruel season, crowd around the winnowing store, and claim the little boon which Providence assigns them. One alone, the breadbreast, sacred to the household gods, wisely regardful of the embroiling sky, in joyless fields and thorny thickets leaves his shivering mates, and pays to trusted man his annual visit. Half afraid, he first against the window beats, then brisk alights on the warm hearth, then, hopping o'er the floor, eyes all the smiling family askance, and peeks, and starts, and wonders where he is, till, more familiar grown, the table crumbs attract his slender feet. The foodless wilds pour forth their brown inhabitants. The hare, though timorous of heart, and hard beset by death in various forms, dark snares and dogs, and more unpitying man the garden seeks, urged on by fearless want. The bleating kind eye the bleak heaven, and next the glistening earth, with looks of dumb despair, then, sad dispersed, dig for the withered herb through heaps of snow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter Song by Ludwig H.C. Hölty. Translated from the German by Charles Timothy Brooks. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5. Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. Winter Song. Summer joys are over, flowers bloom no more, wintry winds are sweeping through the snowdrifts peeping, cheerful evergreen rarely now is seen. Now no plumed throng charms the wood with song, ice-bound trees are glittering, merry snowbirds twittering, fondly strive to cheer scenes so cold and drear. Winter still I see many charms in thee, love thy chilly greeting, snowstorms fiercely beating, and the dear delights of the long, long nights. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter Morning, from The Winter Morning Walk, The Task, Book 5, by William Cowper, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Winter Morning from The Winter Morning Walk, The Task, Book 5. 'Tis the morning, and the sun with ruddy orb ascending fires the horizon, while the clouds, that crowd away before the driving wind, more ardent as the disk emerges more, resembles most some city in a blaze, seen through the leafless wood. His slanting ray slides ineffectual down the snowy vale, and, tinging all with his own rosy hue, from every herb and every spiry blade stretches a length of shadow o'er the field. The verdure of the plain lies buried deep beneath the dazzling deluge, and the bents and coarser grass, upspearing o'er the rest, of late unsightly and unseen, now shine conspicuous, and in bright apparel clad, and, fledged with icy feathers, nod superb. The cattle mourn in corners where the fence screens them, and seem half petrified to sleep in unrecumbent sadness. There they wait their wonted fodder, not, like hungering man, fretful if unsupplied, but silent, meek, and patient of the slow-paced swain's delay. Forth goes the woodman, leaving unconcerned the cheerful haunts of men, to wield the axe and drive the wedge in yonder forest drear, from morn to eve his solitary task. Shaggy and lean and shrewd with pointed ears, and tail cropped short, half lurcher and half cur, his dog attends him. Close behind his heel now creeps he slow, and now, with many a frisk, wide scampering, snatches up the drifted snow with ivory teeth, or ploughs it with his snout, then shakes his powdered coat, and barks for joy. Now from the roost, or from the neighboring pale, where, diligent to catch the first faint gleam of smiling day, they gossiped side by side, come trooping, at the housewife's well-known call, the feathered tribes domestic. Half on wing, and half on foot, they brush the fleecy flood, conscious and fearful of too deep a plunge. The sparrows peep, and quit the sheltering eaves to seize the fair occasion. Well they eye the scattering grain, and, thievishly resolved to escape the impending famine, often scared, as oft return, a pert voracious kind. Clean riddance quickly made, one only care remains to each, the search of sunny nook or shed impervious to the blast. Resigned to sad necessity, the cock forgoes his wonted strut, and, wading at their head with well-considered steps, seems to resent his altered gait and stateliness retrenched. How finds the myriads, that in summer cheer the hills and valleys with their ceaseless songs, due sustenance, or where subsist they now? Earth yields them not, the imprisoned worm is safe beneath the frozen clod, all seeds of herbs lie covered close, and berry-bearing thorns that feed the thrush, whatever some suppose, afford the smaller minstrels no supply. The long protracted vigor of the year thins all their numerous flocks. In chinks and holes 10,000 seek an unmolested end, as instinct prompts, self-buried ere they die. William Cowper. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sleigh Song by G.W. Pettee. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Sleigh Song. Jingle, jingle, clear the way, 'tis the merry, merry sleigh, as it swiftly scuds along, hear the burst of happy song. See the gleam of glances bright, flashing over the pathway wide, jingle, jingle, past it flies, sending shafts from hooded eyes. Roguish archers I'll be bound, little heeding whom they wound, see them with capricious pranks, ploughing now the drifted banks. Jingle, jingle, mid the glee, who among them cares for me? Jingle, jingle, on they go, capes and bonnets white with snow, not a single robe they fold to protect them from the cold. Jingle, jingle mid the storm, fun and frolic keep them warm. Jingle, jingle down the hills, over the meadows past the mills. Now 'tis slow and now 'tis fast, winter will not always last. Jingle, jingle clear the way, 'tis the merry, merry sleigh. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Our Skater Belle by Anonymous. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Our Skater Belle. Along the frozen lake she comes, in linking crescents light and fleet. The ice-imprisoned Undine hums a welcome to her little feet. I see the jaunty hat, the plume, swerve bird-like in the joyous gale, the cheeks lit up to burning bloom, the young eyes sparkling through the veil. The quick breath parts her laughing lips, the white neck shines through tossing curls, her vesture gently sways and dips, as on she speeds in shell-like whirls. Men stop and smile to see her go, they gaze, they smile in pleased surprise. They ask her name, they long to show some silent friendship in their eyes. She glances not, she passes on, her steely footfall quicker rings. She guesses not the benison which follows her on noiseless wings. Smooth be her ways, secure her tread, along the devious lines of life, from grace to grace successive led, a noble maiden, nobler wife. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
O Winter, Wilt Thou Never Go by David Gray. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. O winter, will thou never go? O winter, will thou never, never go? O summer, but I weary for thy coming, longing once more to hear the luggy flow, and frugal bees laboriously humming. Now the east wind diseases the infirm, and they must crouch in corners from rough weather. Sometimes a winter sunset is a charm, when the fired clouds, compacted, blaze together, and the large sun dips red behind the hills. I from my window can behold this pleasure, and the eternal moon, what time she fills her orb with argent, treading of a soft measure, with queenly motions of a bridal mood, through the white spaces of infinitude. David Gray. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Song of Seasons by Elizabeth Roberts MacDonald. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. A Song of Seasons. Sing a song of springtime, catkins by the brook, adder's tongues uncounted, ferns in every nook, the cataract on the hillside leaping like a fawn. Sing a song of springtime. Ah, but springtime's gone. Sing a song of summer, flowers among the grass, clouds like fairy frigates, pools like looking glass, moonlight through the branches, voices on the lawn. Sing a song of summer. Ah, but summer's gone. Sing a song of autumn, grain in golden sheaves, woodbine's crimson clusters round the cottage eaves, days of crystal clearness, frosted fields at dawn. Sing a song of autumn. Ah, but autumn's gone. Sing a song of winter, north wind's bitter chill, home and ruddy firelight, kindness and goodwill, Hemlock in the churches, daytime soon withdrawn, sing a song of winter. Ah, but winter's gone. Sing a song of loving, let the seasons go. Hearts can make their gardens under sun or snow. Fear no fading blossom, nor the dying day. Sing a song of loving that will last for aye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Valley Brook by John Howard Bryant. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Valley Brook. Fresh from the fountains of the wood, a rivulet of the valley came, and glided on for many a rood, flushed with the morning's ruddy flame. The air was fresh and soft and sweet, the slopes in spring's new verdure lay, and wet with dewdrops at my feet bloomed the young violets of May. No sound of busy life was heard amid those pastures lone and still, save the faint chirp of early bird, or bleat of flocks along the hill. I traced that rivulet's winding way, new scenes of beauty opened round, where meads of brighter verdure lay, and lovelier blossoms tinged the ground. Ah, happy valley stream, I said, calm glides thy wave amid the flowers, whose fragrance round thy path is shed through all the joyous summer hours. Oh, could my years, like thine, be passed in some remote and silent glen, where I could dwell and sleep at last, far from the bustling haunts of man. But what new echoes greet my ear? The village schoolboy's merry call, and mid the village hum I hear the murmur of the waterfall. I looked. The widening vale betrayed a pool that shone like burnished steel, where that bright valley stream was stayed to turn the miller's ponderous wheel. Ah, why should I thought with shame, sigh for a life of solitude, when even this stream without a name is laboring for the common good? No longer let me shun my part amid the busy scenes of life, but with a warm and generous heart press onward in the glorious strife. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Song of the Brook by Alfred Lord Tennyson. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Song of the Brook. From The Brook, an Idyll. I come from haunts of coot and hern, I make a sudden sally, and sparkle out among the fern, to bicker down a valley. By 30 hills I hurry down, or slip between the ridges, by 20 thorps a little town, and half 100 bridges. Till last by Philip's farm I flow, to join the brimming river, for man may come and man may go, but I go on forever. I chatter over stony ways, in little sharps and trebles, I bubble into eddying bays, I babble on the pebbles. With many a curve my banks I fret, by many a field and fallow, and many a fairy fallen set, with willow weed and mallow. I chatter, chatter as I flow, to join the brimming river, for man may come and man may go, but I go on forever. I wind about and in and out, with here a blossom sailing, and here and there a lusty trout, and here and there a grayling, and here and there a foamy flake upon me as I travel, with many a silvery water break above the golden gravel, and draw them all along and flow to join the brimming river, for man may come and man may go, but I go on forever. I steal by lawns and grassy plots, I slide by hazel covers, I move the sweet forget-me-nots that grow for happy lovers. I slip, I slide, I gloom, I glance among my skimming swallows, I make the netted sunbeam dance against my sandy shallows. I murmur under moon and stars in brambly wildernesses, I linger by my shingly bars, I loiter round my cresses. And out again I curve and flow to join the brimming river, for man may come and man may go, but I go on forever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shaded Water by William Gilmore Simms. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. The Shaded Water. When that my mood is sad, and in the noise and bustle of the crowd I feel rebuke, I turn my footsteps from its hollow joys, and sit me down beside this little brook. The waters have a music to mine ear, it glads me much to hear. It is a quiet glen, as you may see, shut in from all intrusion by the trees, that spread their giant branches broad and free, the silent growth of many centuries, and make a hallowed time for hapless moods, a Sabbath of the woods. Few know its quiet shelter, none like me do seek it out with such a fond desire, pouring an idless mood on flower and tree, and listening as the voiceless leaves respire, when the far-travelling breeze, done wandering, rests here his weary wing. And all the day, with fancies ever new, and sweet companions from their boundless store, of merry elves bespangled all with dew, fantastic creatures of the old-time lore, watching their wild but unobtrusive play, I fling the hours away. A gracious couch, the root of an old oak, whose branches yield it moss and canopy, is mine, and, so it be from woodman's stroke secure, shall never be resigned by me. It hangs above the stream that idly flies, heedless of any eyes. There with eye sometimes shut, but upward bent, sweetly I muse through many a quiet hour, while every sense on earnest mission sent returns, thought-laden, back with bloom and flower, pursuing, though rebuked by those who moil, a profitable toil. And still the waters, trickling at my feet, wind on their way with gentlest melody, yielding sweet music, which the leaves repeat above them to the gay breeze gliding by, yet not so rudely as to send one sound through the thick copse around. Sometimes a brighter cloud than all the rest hangs o'er the archway opening through the trees, breaking the spell that, like a slumber, pressed on my worn spirit its sweet luxuries. And with awakened vision upward bent, I watch the firmament. How like its sure and undisturbed retreat, life's sanctuary at last secure from storm, to the pure waters trickling at my feet, the bending trees that overshade my form. So far as sweetest things of earth may seem, like those of which we dream. Such to my mind is the philosophy the young bird teaches, who with sudden flight sails far into the blue that spreads on high, until I lose him from my straining sight, with the most lofty discontent to fly upward from earth to sky. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Farewell by Alfred Lord Tennyson. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. A Farewell. Flow down, cold rivulet, to the sea, thy tribute wave deliver. No more by thee my steps shall be, forever and forever. Flow, softly flow, by lawn and lea, A rivulet, then a river. Nowhere by thee my steps shall be, Forever and forever. But here will sigh thine alder tree, And here thine aspen shiver, And here by thee will hum the bee, Forever and forever. 1,000 suns will stream on thee, 1,000 moons will quiver, But not by thee my steps shall be, Forever and forever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Birch Stream by Anna Boynton Averill. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 1, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. The Birch Stream. At noon, within the dusty town, where the wild river rushes down and thunders hoarsely all day long, I think of thee, my hermit stream, low singing in thy summer dream thine idle, sweet, old tranquil song. Northward, Katahdin's chasm pile looms through thy low, long, leafy aisle. Eastward, Olamon's summit shines, and I, upon thy grassy shore, the dreamful, happy child of yore, worship before mine olden shrines. Again, the sultry moontide hush is sweetly broken by the thrush, whose clear bell rings and dies away beside thy banks in coverts deep, where nodding buds of orchid sleep in dusk and dream not it is day. Again, the wild cow lily floats her golden freighted tented boats in thy cool coves of softened gloom, o'ershadowed by the whispering reed and purple plumes of pickerel weed and meadowsweet in tangled bloom. The startled minnows dart in flocks beneath thy glimmering amber rocks. If but a zephyr stirs the brake, the silent swallow swoops a flash of light and leaves with dainty plash a ring of ripples in her wake. Without, the land is hot and dim, the level fields in languor swim, their stubble grasses brown as dust, and all along the upland lanes, where shadeless noon oppressive reigns, dead roses wear their crowns of rust. Within is neither blight nor death, the fierce sun woos with ardent breath, but cannot win thy sylvan heart. Only the child who loves thee long, with faithful worship pure and strong, can know how dear and sweet thou art. So loved I thee in days gone by, so love I yet, though leagues may lie between us, and the years divide. A breath of coolness, dawn and dew, a joy forever fresh and true, thy memory doth with me abide. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song of the River by Charles Kingsley, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Song of the River. Clear and cool, by laughing shallow and dreaming pool, cool and clear, by shining shingle and foaming weir, under the crag where the ouzel sings, and the ivied wall where the church bell rings, undefiled for the undefiled, play by me, bathe in me, mother and child. Dank and foul, by the smoky town in its murky cowl, foul and dank, by wharf and sewer and slimy bank, darker and darker the further I go, baser and baser the richer I grow. Who dare sport with the sin defiled? Shrink from me, turn from me, mother and child. Strong and free, strong and free, the floodgates are open away to the sea. Free and strong, cleansing my streams as I hurry along to the golden sands and the leaping bar, and the taintless tide that awaits me afar. As I lose myself in the infinite main, like a soul that has sinned and is pardoned again. Undefiled for the undefiled, play by me, bathe in me, mother and child. Charles Kingsley. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Afton Water by Robert Burns. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5. Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. Afton Water. Flow gently, sweet Afton, among thy green braes. Flow gently, I'll sing thee a song in thy praise. My Mary's asleep by thy murmuring stream. Flow gently, sweet Afton, disturb not her dream. Thou stark dove, whose echo resounds through the glen, ye wild whistling blackbirds in yon thorny den, thou green-crested lapwing, thy screaming forbear. I charge you, disturb not my slumbering fair. How lofty, sweet Afton, thy neighbouring is, far marked with the courses of clear winding rills. There daily I wander as noon rises high, my flocks and my Mary sweet caught in my eye. How pleasant thy banks and green valleys below, where wild in the woodlands the primroses blow. There oft as mild evening weeps over the lea, the sweet scented birk shades my Mary and me. Thy crystal stream, Afton, how lovely it glides, and winds by the cot where my Mary resides. How wanton thy waters her snowy feet lave, as gathering sweet flowerets she stems thy clear wave. Flow gently, sweet Afton, among thy green graves. Flow gently, sweet river, the theme of my lays. My Mary's asleep by thy murmuring stream. Flow gently, sweet Afton, disturb not her dream. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Snows by Charles Sangster, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama as the narrator,
and Tomas Peter as the crew.
The Snows. Over the snows buoyantly goes the lumberer's bark canoe. Lightly they sweep, wilder each leap, rending the white caps through. Away, away, with the speed of a startled deer, while the steersman true and his laughing crew sing of their wild career.
Mariners glide far o'er the tide in ships that are stanch and strong. Safely as they speed we away, waking the woods with song.
Away, away, with the speed of a startled deer, while the laughing crew of the swift canoe sing of the raftsman's cheer.
Through forest and brae, gore rapid and lake, where sport for the sun and rain. Free as the child of the Arab wild, hardened to toil and pain. Away, away with the speed of a startled deer, while our buoyant flight in the rapids' might heighten our swift career.
Over the snows buoyantly goes the lumberer's bark canoe. Lightly they sweep, wilder each leap, tearing the white caps through. Away, away, with the speed of a startled deer, there's a fearless crew in each light canoe to sing of the raftsman's cheer. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My River, from the German of Eduard Mörike, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Leanne Yau. My River. River, my river in the young sunshine, oh, clasp afresh in thine embrace this longing, burning frame of mine, and kiss my breast, and kiss my face. So, there! Already in thine arms, I feel thy love. I shout, I shiver, but thou outlaughest loud a flouting song, proud river. And now again my bosom warms. The droplets of the golden sunlight glide over and off me, sparkling, as I swim hither and thither down thy mellow tide, or loll amidst its crypts with outstretched limb. I fling abroad my arms, and lo! Thy wanton waves curl slyly round me, but ere their loose chains have well bound me, again they burst away, and let me go. O sun-loved river, wherefore dost thou hum, hum, hum alway thy strange, deep, mystic song unto the rocks and strands? For they are dumb, and answer nothing as thou flowest along. Why singest so all hours of night and day? O river, my best river, thou, I guess, art seeking some land where souls have still the gift of speaking with nature in her own old wondrous way. Lo, highest heaven looms far below me here. I see it in thy waters as they roll, so beautiful, so blue, so clear, 'twould seem, O river mine, to be thy very soul. Oh, could I hence dive down to such a sky, might I but bathe my spirit in that glory, so far outshining all in ancient fairy story, I would indeed have joy to die. What on cold earth as deep as thou is aught? Love is as deep. Love only is as deep. Love lavisheth all, yet loseth, lacketh naught. Like thee too, love can neither pause nor sleep. Roll on, thou loving river, thou, lift up thy waves, those eyes bright with a riotous laughing. Thou makest me immortal. I am quaffing the wine of rapture from no earthly cup. At last thou bearest me, with soothing tone, back to thy bank of rosy flowers. Thanks then, and fare thee well. Enjoy thy bliss alone. and through the years melodious hours echo forever from thy bosom broad, all glorious tales that sun and moon be telling, and woo down to their soundless fountain dwelling the holy stars of God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Rhine by William Lyle Bowles. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. On the Rhine. 'Twas morn, and beautiful the mountain's brow, hung with the clusters of the bending vine, shone in the early light, when on the Rhine we sailed and heard the waters round the prow in murmurs parting, varying as we go. Rocks after rocks come forward and retire, as some grey convent wall or sunlit spire starts up along the banks, unfolding slow. Here castles, like the prisons of despair, frown as we pass. There, on the vineyard side, the bursting sunshine pours its streaming tide, while grief, forgetful amid scenes so fair, counts not the hours of a long summer's day, nor heeds how fast the prospect winds away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Oxus, from Suram and Rustum by Matthew Arnold. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Oxus. But the majestic river floated on, out of the mist and hum of that low land, into the frosty starlight, and there moved, rejoicing, through the hushed Chorasmian waste. Under the solitary moon he flowed, right for the polar star, past Dorgagné, brimming and bright and large. Then sands begin to hem his watery march, and dam his streams, and split his currents, that for many a league the shorn and parcelled Oxus strains along. Through beds of sand and matted rushy isles, Oxus, forgetting the bright speed he had in his high mountain cradle in Pamere, a foiled, circuitous wanderer, till at last the longed-for dash of waves is heard, and wide his luminous home of waters open, bright and tranquil, from whose floor the new-bathed stars emerge and shine upon the Aral Sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Fall of Niagara by John Gardiner Calkins Brainerd. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. The Fall of Niagara. The thoughts are strange that crowd into my brain while I look upward to thee. It would seem as if God poured thee from his hollow hand, and hung his bow upon thine awful front, and spoke in that loud voice which seemed to him who dwelt in Patmos for his Saviour's sake the sound of many waters, and had bade thy flood to chronicle the ages back, and notch his centuries in the eternal rocks. Deep calleth unto deep, and what are we that hear the question of that voice sublime? Oh, what are all the notes that ever rung from war's vain trumpet by thy thundering side? Yea, what is all the riot man can make in his short life to thy unceasing roar? And yet, bold babbler, what art thou to him who drowned a world and heaped the waters far above its loftiest mountains? A light wave that breaks and whispers of its maker's might. John Gardiner Calkins Brainerd. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Seneca Lake by James Gates Percival. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. To Seneca Lake. On thy fair bosom, silver lake, the wild swan spreads his snowy sail, and round his breast the ripples break, as down he bears before the gale. On thy fair bosom, waveless stream, the dipping paddle echoes far, and flashes in the moonlight gleam, and bright reflects a polar star. The waves along thy pebbly shore, as blows the north wind, heave their foam, and curl around the dashing oar, as late the boatman hies him home. How sweet, at set of sun, to view thy golden mirror spreading wide, and see the mist of mantling blue float round the distant mountain side. At midnight hour, as shines the moon, a sheet of silver spreads below, and swift she cuts, at highest noon, light clouds, like wreaths of purest snow. On thy fair bosom, silver lake, oh, I could ever sweep thee o'er, when early birds at morning wake, and evening tells us toil is o'er. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bugle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Bugle, from The Princess. The splendor falls on castle walls and snowy summits, old in story. The long light shakes across the lakes, and the wild cataract leaps in glory. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes flying. Blow, bugle, answer, echoes, dying, dying, dying. O hark, O hear, how thin and clear, and thinner, clearer, farther going. O sweet and far, from cliff and scar, the horns of Elfland faintly blowing. Blow, let us hear the purple glens replying. Blow, bugle, answer, echoes, dying, dying, dying. O love, they die in yon rich sky, they faint on hill or field or river. Our echoes roll from soul to soul, and grow forever and forever. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes flying, and answer, echoes, answer, dying, dying, dying. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I should have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There's midnight all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Calm on Lake Leman, from Childe Harold, Canto 3 by Lord Byron, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Calm on Lake Leman, from Childe Harold, Canto 3. Clear, placid Leman, thy contrasted lake, with the wild world I dwelt in, is a thing which warns me, with its stillness, to forsake earth's troubled waters for a purer spring. This quiet sail is as a noiseless wing to waft me from distraction. Once I loved torn ocean's roar, but thy soft murmuring sounds sweet as if a sister's voice reproved that I with stern delights should e'er have been so moved. It is the hush of night, and all between thy margin and the mountains, dusk, yet clear, mellowed and mingling, yet distinctly seen, save darkened Jura, whose capped heights appear precipitously steep, and drawing near, where breathes a living fragrance from the shore, of flowers yet fresh with childhood, on the ear drops the light drip of the suspended oar, or chirps the grasshopper one good night carol more. He is an evening reveller, who makes his life an infancy, and sings his fill. At intervals some bird from out the brake starts into voice a moment, then is still. There seems a floating whisper on the hill, but that is fancy, for the starlight dews all silently their tears of love instil, weeping themselves away till they infuse deep into nature's breast the spirit of her hues. Lord Byron. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Silence of the Hills by William Prescott Foster, from the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Silence of the Hills. The windy forest, rousing from its sleep, voices its heart in hoarse titanic roar. The ocean bellows from its rocky shore, the cataract, that haunts the rugged steep, makes mighty music in its headlong leap. The clouds have voices, and the rivers pour their floods in thunder down to ocean's floor. The hills alone mysterious silence keep. They cannot rend the ancient chain that bars their iron lips, nor answer back the sea that calls to them far off in vain. The stars they cannot hail, nor their wild brooks. Ah me! What cries from out their stony hearts will break in God's great day, when all that sleep shall wake. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Storm in the Alps, from Childe Harold, Canto 3, by Lord Byron. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. Storm in the Alps. The sky is changed, and such a change, O night, and storm and darkness, ye are wondrous strong, yet lovely in your strength as in the light of a dark eye in woman. Far along, from peak to peak, the rattling crags among, leaps the live thunder, not from one lone cloud, but every mountain now hath found a tongue, and Jura answers through her misty shroud back to the joyous Alps who call to her aloud. And this is in the night, most glorious night. Thou wert not sent for slumber, let me be a sharer in thy fierce and far delight, a portion of the tempest and of thee. How the lit lake shines a phosphoric sea, and the big rain comes dancing to the earth, and now again 'tis black, and now the glee of the loud hills shakes with its mountain mirth, as if thy did rejoice o'er a young earthquake's birth. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dover Cliff from King Lear, Act 4, Scene 6, by William Shakespeare, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. Dover Cliff from King Lear, Act 4, Scene 6. Come on, sir, here's the place, stand still. How fearful and dizzy 'tis to cast one's eyes so low. The crows and choughs that wing the midway air show scarce so gross as beetles. Halfway down hangs one that gathers samphire, dreadful trade. Methinks he seems no bigger than his head. The fishermen that walk upon the beach appear like mice, and yon tall anchoring bark diminished to her cock a boy almost too small for sight. The murmuring surge that on the unnumbered idle pebbles chafes cannot be heard so high. I'll look no more, lest my brain turn and the deficient sight topple down headlong. Shakespeare. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Choral Song by Euripides, translated from the Greek by H. Milman, from The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Tomas Peter as the chorus,
and Sonia as the bacchanal.
Choral Song from the Bacchae. On the mountains wild 'tis sweet, when faint with rapid dance our feet, our limbs on earth all careless thrown, with the sacred fawn-skins shown, to quaff the goat's delicious blood, a strange, a rich, a savage food. Then off again the revel goes, o'er Phrygian, Lydian mountain brows. Evoe, Evoe, leads the road, Bacchus' self the maddening god, and flows with milk the plain, and flows with wine, flows with the wild bees' nectar dews divine, and soars, like smoke, the Syrian incense pale, the while the frantic bacchanal, the beckoning pine torch on her wand, whirls around with rapid hand, and drives the wandering dance about, beating time with joyous shout, and casts upon the breezy air all her rich luxuriant hair, ever the burden of her song.
Raging, maddening, haste along, Bacchus' daughters, ye the pride of golden Tmolus' fabled side. While your heavy cymbals ring, still your Evoe, Evoe sing.
Evoe! The Evian god rejoices in Phrygian tones and Phrygian voices, when the soft holy pipe is breathing sweet, in notes harmonious to our feet, who to the mountain speeds, like some young colt that by its mother feeds, gladsome with many a frisking bound. The bacchanal goes forth, and treads the echoing ground. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Alpine Descent by Samuel Rogers. From The World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Craig Franklin. An Alpine Descent. My mule refreshed, his bells jingled once more the signal to depart, and we set out in the grey light of dawn, descending rapidly by waterfalls fast frozen and among huge blocks of ice that in their long career
had stopped midway. At length, unchecked, unbidden, he stood still, and all his bells were muffled. Then my guide, lowering his voice, addressed me. Through this chasm, on, and say nothing, for a word, a breath, stirring the air, may loosen and bring down a winter's snow, enough to overwhelm the horse and foot that night and day defiled along this path to conquer at Marengo. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From Mont Blanc by Percy Bysshe Shelley. From the World's Best Poetry, Volume 5, Nature, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. From Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc yet gleams on high, the power is there, the still and solemn power of many sights, and many sounds, and much of life and death. In the calm darkness of the moonless nights, in the lone glare of day, the snows descend upon that mountain. None beholds them there, nor when the flakes burn in the sinking sun, or the starbeams dart through them. Winds contend silently there, and heap the snow with breath rapid and strong, but silently. Its home the voiceless lightning in these solitudes keeps innocently, and like vapor broods over the snow. The secret strength of things, which governs thought, and to the infinite dome of heaven is